Hey guys, Dan here.
And Frank, Godzilla Island, and we have a special guest today. We have Greg Lambert of Titans of Fallen Earth. It's a new tabletop RPG that's going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon. He was nice enough to give us a preview of it. Really great looking book, lots of lore in it. But let's pass it over to Greg. Let him introduce himself here.
Hello, how's it going? Yep, I am. I'm the creator of Titans of Fallen Earth. I have a co-author who has not done any writing for the book, but he does all of our layout and everything, and production and videos. His name is Franklin. He's not joining us today, but he's always a part of our projects. We are mainly have been Dungeons and Dragons creators for a few years, and just decided to get into something completely new.
Yeah, I mean this preview book that the preview files that you sent us so far. You sent us a lot of pages, and it looks like you have a really shelled out story here. Tons of lore behind almost every faction.
Oh yeah, it's not private. Feel free to share anything, like a screenshot or whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's the first 134 pages of the book are complete, and the entire book is laid out. But I have to, with any RPG book, you got to go back and do technical stuff like charts. I have a lot of charts of weapons and items and things I need to flesh out, and stat blocks and things like that. So that's time consuming, but after that, the book will essentially be complete.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty like a pretty complete package here, and the just the page layout and the art on it is just really really nice. I mean, I just really dig it. I mean, we're not big RPG players. It's just we just haven't had the time for it. I always wanted to do D&D, but just couldn't find the time.
Or the group is always the
or the group. I have a couple friends, but it was like, you can't do Dungeons and Dragons with 3 people.
Well, you can, but still, I get the sentiment there.
Yeah, we were like, oh, we gotta find a group to join, and we just never got on that.
Well, maybe now will be your chance.
Yeah.
Once the book is complete,
find
a squad.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's always the goal, right? The squad in time.
Should just call your party at the table the Mazer Squad and have them be like, like Buster pilots and stuff like that. That would be tight.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that you called your, like, I was like, we have Pacific Rims has the Jaegers, Mechs is kind of like general, but here you call your mechs Busters, which is really cool. Awesome designs. One of my personal favorite ones when I was looking through it was the Jet Viper. It gave me that Neon Genesis vibe, of course.
Yeah, that's what we were going for sure.
And that's on the cover, right? Is that that's the same guy
for the
cover,
PDF? No, the cover art is by Ross Radek.
Yes.
Who did,
yes,
Stomped.
that big, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a wraparound front and back and spine.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So, are you going to be doing a digital version? So, like, is this what we're seeing here?
Yeah, what you're seeing there is the PDF. Yep.
That's the digital. Okay.
Always digital with us too.
Really.
Physical copy and digital.
Nice. So this is going to be a really nice looking book when it comes out. Now, is it going to be a hardcover, soft cover?
Yeah, we're doing a hardcover. We have a printer in Lithuania. So once that's done, we do an offset print, and they basically import it into the United States for us. Work with a distribution company that should be getting that out to Kickstarter backers, assuming it's a success. I don't see why it wouldn't be a success, but you never know.
No, I definitely think it's going to be. I mean, just everything that we have here just looks like...
It looks like...
Yeah, it's amazing.
Excellent quality. We'll share out some of the pictures too, maybe on the video here.
Yeah.
It is just. I was like, this is just when I was looking through I was just blown away. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first time actually looking at like an RPG book. I've seen like files online for other games, and this one just
most of them do not look like ours.
It's
yeah, I know. Like, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think that guy's straight out of Ultraman.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
It looks like Gessera. Like it's like Peter, who's just recently in the Ultraman manga. It's sort of like Gessera. It looks a little different. It's got some horns and extra spikes on it, so it's not 100%. But the face right away, I noticed. I was like, oh, that's a good twist on him.
Now, you originally messed just about this game. I'd say it was about, what was it, like a year ago, right when Stomped 4 was coming out?
Yeah. Yeah, Stomped has got an ad for the game in the back.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long has this game been, because this is quite in-depth, how long has this been in development for?
Well, it's been going since 2022, but I got really, really sick for like a whole year.
Oh, man.
And I'm just now starting to recover. Like major health problems. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I'm getting better. But so we really only delved deep into started working on it in like March of this year.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Like we started with nothing. We had some artwork, and this is what we've got done, like basically in the past few months.
That's really damn impressive. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking you've been like...
Yeah, I was expecting like 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because I know I'm in the forward, you say that, you've been a Kaiju fan your whole life, the TNT Monster Vision marathons and all that. I'm like, so has this been like a brainchild of yours your whole life, and you're just like, I'm finally going to do it?
There's a ton of Kaiju and Mecha role-playing games out there, and I've downloaded almost all of them. And, I mean, you know some already, like Battletech, which is MechWarrior, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But none of them really scratch that itch for me, personally. Because they all kind of either had that super military MechWarrior type of vibe with a lot of like faction like politics and stuff, or they were like over the top Voltron, Power Rangers style like cinematic anime type of thing, where you can play as like a little girl and like you're a pilot and like you go to school, and it's like that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I want. I want to have so my goal was to have a game that was the best Kaiju versus Mecha game out there, and I hope that it is, because there's nothing else really that has that vibe. We're going for almost like we started out trying to go with like a cassette futurism, like an alternate 1980s, and so it does have a lot of alternate 1980s vibes, with the old CRT monitor effects and computer screens and things like that. But I was influenced by all like the cool stuff, like Terminator, Aliens, obviously, stuff from the 80s like Mad Max and RoboCop, but Heisei Gamera, Heisei Godzilla, that's the era that we really focus on. And we wanted to have just that cool, almost a comic book style of like 80s 90s anime plus comic book and sci-fi vibe to it, where it's not like super anime, but it's not like superhero comics. It's got like its own like identity, and that's what we wanted to go with. And another thing is, I wanted a game where you could play as a kaiju. Okay, so there's games where you can play as a kaiju going around blowing things up. And there's games where you play as a mecha trying to fight kaiju. There's not a game I know of where you can literally have both characters, fulfill that same fantasy. Have the Attack on Titan / Kaiju number 8 fantasy, or you can have the mecha fantasy in this game.
Yeah. That was one thing I noticed. You had the Kaijin, so it's like the people that are affected by this... what is that? What was that called?
The Trace.
The Trace, yes. So like some of them were like mutated into kaiju, and then some are just like deformed. It was awesome, really cool concept. It's like you said, the Kaiju number 8 vibe there. Then of course you have the alien race. They almost reminded me of that one of the pictures almost reminds me of that guy that works with Thanos. I can't think of his name right now. Obsidian Black, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Oh, I was like, oh, that just gives me Obsidian Black vibes.
Yeah, we were influenced by V, classic sci-fi series, and UFO, classic series, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
it all comes through. I mean,
yeah, for sure. That's our goal. We want to be thematically cohesive, and like the Volgrax or the Order of Transcendent Earth is what you're talking about. It's
yes.
They are the villains, like they're the enemies of humanity, but you can play as them and they're fully fleshed out with their own lore, like role-playing characteristics and things like that. Like they've got their own mechs, which we don't show too much of in this sample, but
yes,
those are laid out. They basically have figured out how to. So if you read through the lore, it's not a spoiler, but humans find a way to break the control that they have over the Kaiju, so the Kaiju go apeshit and start attacking their own masters, basically. So, and now they don't have control over the Kaiju, so what they've done is they've taken Kaiju and meshed them with biomechanical elements, so it's like a combination of Kaiju and machine, and that's like their main Titan that you can play as. So it's got the Kaiju powers, and it has missiles and rockets and stuff.
Yeah, like you said, when you were just saying, you said fleshed out, and I mean, if once everyone gets this book in their hand and sees what we see, I mean, everything is just fleshed out. I mean, like I said earlier, the amount of lore, you have all these character bios.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn impressive what you put together, and especially now that you're telling me it's only been a couple of months. I mean, I can imagine what you could do over time. I mean, I know some of these games, they do expansions sometimes and add-ins. Yeah. Is that something that you would plan to do with this? I know the different systems work different ways when it comes to RPGs and things like that.
Yeah, people keep asking me about going to space, and I'm like, well, it's not really a space game.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future, but my co-author wants to have straight up Terminator as the expansion. But
really?
Yeah, but on a kaiju-sized level.
All
so
right.
let's say that the AI that is in the main human faction Gridcom, they lose control of it, it becomes self-aware. You have to fight against it as humans. That's what we're thinking about going for the expansion.
That's pretty cool. And then they hijack the mechs or something, maybe.
Yeah, and kind of they start to twist and distort the mechs into Sentinels from X-Men almost. And they go crazy and attack humanity. That's what we're probably going to go to.
That's pretty cool. I could see that. I mean, it's just the, like I said, the lore. There's so much with this where I'm you could just do so much even beyond expansions, games. Dungeons and Dragons, they've made movies, they've done comics, they've done so much. This does include a little intro comic too, which is a really great looking comic. Who did you get to do that comic? The art and writing. Did you write the story? Did you?
Yeah, I did. Did the lettering and the little bit of story that's there in that 6-page comic. It's really to just give you a look and feel of the whole setting.
Yeah.
And the vibe that we're going for. That was a guy. His name is Hugo. He goes by the good Nero Crane, I think.
Okay.
And he's worked with Ross Radke a few times too. But he's a very talented guy. He did all of the whole coloring and everything, all the ink work, everything.
And that comic really does give off a vibe, though. Like you said, it's got that tech noir, cassette futurism to it. It's even just kind of a dark story too. Humanity's
been destroyed.
Yep, they're scoping out a camp. The camp's abandoned, and then like, oh, we got a couple hours to evacuate the space, and then it just all goes awry. And now they're gonna fight back humanity here with their busters.
Yeah, that's part of the new trailer we're working on. Is actually it's got a live action intro that segues into the comic.
Really?
And then we show,
Wow.
and then we show. That's why we're looking for an actress who can do it convincing like Sarah Connor, because the character in the comic is basically the framing narrator for the whole book. She's like a Sarah Connor kind of like Ripley stand-in,
Yeah.
or like a Samus Aran from Metroid type of, like
Yes.
heroine. So
Yeah, I did
that's
notice
what we're
her
going for
throughout
there.
the book several times. What was her name again? I think I might have wrote it down somewhere. But, yeah.
Akira. That's her
Akira,
name.
that's what it is.
We've got our characters in there that are. All of our books are like this. We always have one or two characters that are almost direct rip-off, like references to something nostalgic. So in this one, we have like Michael Ironside is literally in the book. Like, so we have to include the disclaimer at the front that's like,
Yes.
all people appearing in this are totally fictional and are not meant to resemble real life entities.
Yeah, no, it's quite impressive just how fleshed out it is already. And you were saying there's like a lot more, that you're still working on character pages, stats, weapons. Like what if you were to give a percentage, like how complete is this? Because it seems pretty.
It's about 90% complete.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems pretty.
I mean, 100% of the book is like laid out, like the pages are in place. It's clocking in at like 210 pages right now.
Wow.
And all the artwork is done. That's all in place. A lot you haven't seen. Some really cool stuff. We've got a bunch of 2-page spreads that you haven't seen that are awesome, like big kaiju fights. But I just need to go back and kind of like flesh out the bits and pieces that are missing and put some things in place. Like, for example, the kaiju sample I sent you has a good chunk of the kaiju that are in our bestiary. And it has their description, and we did a little Japanese hiragana or katakana on the side for them, and all that. But the actual stats for the game have not been like fleshed out. I need to go back and do that. So it's mainly the numbers stuff that slows us down the most.
Yeah, the Kaiju bestiary that you just sent us a little while ago, I was just like, how many artists did you get on this? I mean, because it's just really damn impressive how many pieces there are in this book.
4.
Wow.
So one of our greatest assets was an artist named Leflair Zone. And I can't remember how I found him. I think he had almost no followers. He did a comic book on his own. Just an indie comic, that he posted online. Witch Hunter or something like that. Killer Witch, that's what it is. And I saw he did like a mech at one point. And I'm like, this guy can do mecha. By the way, it's very difficult to find someone who can illustrate mechanical, like, vehicles, mecha, and human characters. Like, usually it's one or the other. It's hard to find someone. He does it all. And so I messaged him and I'm like, hey, do you want to do a whole book for us? And he's like, okay. So
if he's got some socials, you gotta link us some of these guys you had work on this for sure. I definitely want to give him a follow.
We interviewed him.
Really?
We interviewed him on our interview show. He's a bit mumbly because was on his phone.
So that's what we were talking about earlier. It happens sometimes.
That's just how disconnected this guy was. Like, he's never been on social media, never been in an interview, never been like publicly seen or anything. So I'm like, we lucked out big time.
Yeah. You really just found a hidden gem there. That was a diamond in the rough, it sounds like. I mean,
he does like all our. So we have a full page piece of art for every chapter introduction. For example, in like the U.S. Remnant chapter, we've got the Buster like launching through the air at the kaiju.
Yes.
He does all those, so he's pretty cool.
And like, how did you guys have like ideas for all these kaiju designs, buster designs, or did you just be like, hey, we need this many monsters, throw out what you got at us? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, I worked with Leflair on all the mech designs. I was like, okay, for the busters, we want to start with the base as the power loader from Aliens. And so that's what it's supposed to be, like, because that's what they were in the storyline. Originally, they're called load busters because they were used to like load and like bust through like this workload on like docks and like shipping, and then they had like a million of them, and they're like, you know what? We're being attacked by kaiju. Let's take these and put armor and weapons on them. So then they became like zone busters. So you go in and like kill everything and like round up kaiju and destroy them. So he worked with us on those designs, and then I was like, well, every faction needs a small mech, or a small titan, I should say.
Yes.
All the mechs and creatures are called titans.
Yeah.
That's the title.
I noticed that there's Titans, there's Sentinels, also, besides the Busters.
So we kind of wanted to have the small Titans where you have a big table of like 6 or 7 players. Because that might happen. You might have a big team that each one is kitted out differently and you attack as a team. But if you have a game where it's only like 2 guys, or even 1 guy, that's when you go to the huge Pacific Rim Titan, like the Sentinel, and you get in that, and then you can have that style of game. So we wanted to create some variety in the types of games you can make for it.
No, that's really... I'm just amazed. So how many, like, what is like the player range on this? So I know you said is it like 1 to 7 players? Like how?
Yeah, we probably envision a 1 to 6.
All right, 1 to 6. All right.
Because of the number of dice involved, it's a D6 system. 6-sided dice, very simple. Everyone has them.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of D6 systems out there for RPGs. And what makes ours unique is that we think rolling a lot of dice is fun. That's been our feedback from players. Players like to roll handfuls of dice and like add up huge numbers. So we have like, most attacks and things are a roll 2d6 or 3d6, but we have some that are 20d6, 40d6. So it's like.
It's like a game of craps now.
Yeah, you can't really... You could have a table that would accommodate that level of math, but it would just slow everything down.
Yeah.
So we probably want to keep it kind of smaller scale.
No, that's for sure. Yeah. And like, on average, like how long would one of these games run? Like you said, we're completely noobs. We're noobs here. So I know some of these RPGs people play over days sometimes.
Yeah.
They do it in multiple sittings. Can you do it in one?
So there's almost a wargaming type of feel to this. Meaning that although the players can get out of their Titans and wander around and talk to other characters and, buy equipment and things like that, like you guys have played RPGs on PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Most of it is combat missions. So are you familiar with Front Mission or Armored Core or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so like the idea behind the campaign in Titans would be to tackle greater and greater foes on the battlefield through like a mission system. Let's say you start out easy, your starter Titans team maybe goes out and takes out some small kaiju that aren't too much of a threat, and then it just starts to escalate and they get closer to the city and they're attacking civilians and you have to bring in heavier guns and get more abilities, and that's how the campaign is meant to progress until you have like an ultimate like boss or final like disastrous entity that you have to face that could kill you. Like, you might not succeed.
Yeah, I mean that's how games are. You win or lose, right?
Yeah.
So that's how campaigns are. Probably no more than an hour or two for an average mission, but a campaign probably is around like 6 to 10 missions, depending on how long you want it to make it.
All right.
Challenging. Yeah.
All right, that's pretty cool. And then at least you could, like, if you wanted to make it a long ongoing thing, you could do a mission here, a mission there, and be like, all right, we're gonna do a 3-mission night, come back another night, do another 3 or something like that. All
exactly.
Right.
You get experience points for what you're doing in the missions. Like if you kill a kaiju, you get X experience points. If you just participate, you get a little bit less, and then you can train your character and use your experience points to buy equipment and things like that, and money too. Like you get money in the game. But that's generally how it's laid out for sure. There was something else I had to say about that, but my mind went completely blank.
Money, equipment, weapons,
campaign.
What else can you?
Not campaign length. No,
XP.
Yeah. No, sure.
Yeah. No, that's.
There's other things you can do. Like you can go a step outside of your Titan and be like a bounty hunter on the cyberpunk, city streets. Maybe earn a little bit extra money that way, stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed you had that character with the Ferrari in the book.
Yeah. He's supposed to be like Bean Bandit.
Yeah, I was like
Riding Bean.
I was like, oh, this is just like such a vibe right there. I'm like, that's just. I'm really big into the whole cyberpunk feel. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is just the whole aesthetic of this book. I'm just like, yes, this is a really nice looking book. This is my type of game.
Yeah, that's why we included like the trace mutants, which are like the deformed like mutant people that eventually turn into, if you played Fallout, they're kind of like the Death Stalkers.
Yes.
Or Death Claws. Is what they're called. Yeah. And that's like the smallest kind of level of kaiju you would face in the game. That's what I was going to say. There's no limit to how big and how powerful and mean, as a game master creating your missions, there's no limit to how strong you can make them. Like, you don't have the chapter where I show this yet, but we have charts and charts and charts of kaiju powers taken from everything imaginable. I have a list of all monsters Godzilla has ever fought, everything from Gamera, everything from Ultraman, and I'm like picking and choosing different powers to try and include in the game,
and especially Ultraman.
Yeah.
That's a deep catalog of powers and abilities. There's some funky ones there. I mean, I watched the Ultraman Taro episode today where the kaiju had singing abilities and pulled a sheet music out of its belly button to play music.
Don't go that far, but still,
I was like, Ultraman, they have some wacky ones out there, and there's also some really cool ones, though.
Yeah, we've got beam clashes in the game. There's going to be rules for that.
Oh, that's really cool.
The combat chapter is mostly finished, so there's a lot of things you can do. We have rules for almost everything that you would want in any kind of kaiju battle, like picking up a kaiju and slamming it through a building is there, having the kaiju burrow under the earth and then re-emerge and like drag you down, like you can do that. Like there's all kinds of different things you can do.
The beam clash aspect sounds really cool, but having all these different events come up, this sounds really...
So the bestiary, which you have a sample of there with the artwork, is like, that's if you are going to somebody's house and they want to play a kaiju game, you can just grab those and go. And that's why we also have pre-statted mechs too. We have pre-statted sentinels and busters. You can just grab and go, build a team, and fight. But we'll have complete rules for creating your own as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's really...
So if you had like an OC you could just go and like convert it to your game.
Oh yeah. You can do that easily.
We're actually like in the process of like redesigning our logo, so we're like getting like concepts made for a mech, for a logo.
Yeah, we got our first rough draft. It's pretty good. It's not perfect, but we'll eventually. We're looking into different artists for it eventually, just to kind of upgrade it, because we're like, maybe once we hit 1,000 subs, we'll just kind of change up the logo a little, rebrand a little.
For sure, that would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
There's enough artwork in the book for most people to like get a feel for what the Titans are supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But there's not like any hard and fast rules for appearance.
No.
If you have a buster you want to make that's got like 2 hydraulic claws, that's an example that's in the book, but you could make something like that. If you wanted to make one that was like Armored Trooper Vodoms, you can make it be like that, We're not super strict about it as long as it adheres to the overall theme of the book. That's why there's, you create your character with the charts that we provide.
Yeah.
And the kaiju are the most varied by far. You can basically for the kaiju artist, his name is Andre Diaz, and he also worked with Ross Radek. He had like a little Ross Radke inner circle going on. And he's great at monster design. So I've basically sent him a Santa Claus list. I want a shark, a whale, a dolphin. It's like I want a centipede, a spider, and then I was like, maybe you have too many animal kaiju. I want some ones that are like angels from Evangelion that are just really bizarre and weird. So those are the ones he's working on next. And there's one of those at the end of that thing I sent you is very strange. It shoots like a maser beam.
Oh, yes, the Bayaki Alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really cool. That was pretty cool.
He's straight out of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes. It's like a brain with some eyes, and it's like insectoid with tentacles. One of the ones that stood out to me was the Abaddon Sigma, because it just reminded me so much of Stomped with that whole, was it Paris, when the giant insects is on top of the building. It just like, I was like, oh, this just reminds me of Stomped right here.
It probably took it directly from it, to be honest. It might have even been him that illustrated it.
It might have.
I think there was a couple in there that where I was like, this is... Yeah, it gave me... I'm like, this has got to be Ross Radke drawing it.
Yeah.
Or like one of the artists that he used.
Yeah.
It's definitely giving me Stomped vibes.
Oh, for sure. The Greek numeral there at the end of... So you have a kind of a mythological name for the kaiju. And then you have a Greek numeral that represents how many of them have been killed. So if a kaiju is X alpha, that means that's only one that's never been killed. That's how strong it is. But Abaddon Sigma is like 200.
Yes.
They've tried to kill hundreds of these things, and they're still coming. There's like swarms of them.
That's pretty cool. I did not realize that's... Because, I did notice like all of them do have the Roman numeral name after them.
Yeah.
Theta, Alpha. All right. These are just such like impressive designs. Yeah, you really nailed it with these artists, man. I mean, and just you gave them the designs and they ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, like they're all... Leflair is a much bigger Mecha fan than any of us. I can tell you. I'm looking at your shelf right now, and I'm like, oh, these guys know their Mecha. No, Leflair knows this Mecha. Like, I'm telling you, he's seen every Mecha anime that I can possibly name.
There's so many that I don't even... Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's just a whole nother pool of fandom to get into there. I mean... I feel like Discotech Media, we cover them every now and then with all their Toku releases, but they release like 3 Mecha Blu-rays a month, and I'm like, how many series are there? There's a lot.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we are Tokusatsu influenced, but it's less of a Sentai Ranger type of feel, like I said at the beginning of the interview. You know, if you're picking it up expecting to have like a Sentai team or like a Super Science team, you're not going to get that feel.
Oh, especially with the opening.
That's okay. It's you know, it fulfills a whole different thing. We want to appeal to not only the role-playing fans and the wargamer fans, but also the Mecha fans and Godzilla fans, but also the fans of 80s movies like Mad Max and post-apoc. So we're trying to like have something that's all-encompassing. Like, you guys have never played an RPG before. You're still interested in it. That's my goal.
I'm 100% like, I'm like, this is really damn impressive. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. But I from the concept arts that I've seen you share out, I'm like, all right, this looks good. I'm like the art looks good. I'm like, let's see what it entails, what's going on behind the scenes here. You got Ross involved, and I was like, it's worth checking out. So it's something that I've been looking forward to seeing. And when you passed me this, I was like, wow. I was like, just the intro, like you said, it gives you that right off the bat. You read that introduction, this isn't going to be your happy-go-lucky Sentai Power Rangers story. It's going to be post-apocalyptic feeling. It's going to be dark, gritty. Like I said, I love the cyberpunk vibe. It's one of my favorite things when the video game Cyberpunk 2077 came out. I got like dug in even deeper into that whole aesthetic there.
We enjoy it. And I envision in my mind like scenarios where something like Evangelion, where and basically an angel is attacking and things are going completely apeshit, like alarms are flashing, like digital countdowns are going down, like people are dying, like the pilot has gone insane, and like the Titan has to like actually go berserk. All that stuff is possible in the game.
Yeah, no, that's a great series too to just base this off of, because it's super dark. Dan has actually never seen it.
It's like one of those things where it's like, I have so much to watch. I haven't gotten watched it.
That's the one to watch. That's up there with Berserk for me. That's up there with Fist of the North Star. That's like a classic for me.
But then I was like, they came out with the Blu-ray set for Shout Factory. Like, maybe I'll get that. And then everyone's like, that set sucks. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna watch it there then.
There's an Evangelion set you can find at Walmart that has a new set of subtitles. So good.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's with the Netflix subtitles.
Yeah, but the special edition box has the original from the 90s, and that's the one to get. Yep, it's got the original and the new, and it's got the original dub and the new dub, so that's the one to watch.
Yeah, I haven't jumped into the Blu-ray. So I have the original DVD box set, but I didn't jump into the Blu-rays. I was like, if anything, at least watch the Rebuild movies, maybe. I'm like, it's sort of abridged. It's not as good, but it's something.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I watched that, when I finished watching, especially towards the back end, I was like, what the hell happened? Just it was just like the most wildest end to the series that I've ever seen.
And then you have to watch End of Evangelion to get the true ending.
Yeah. I was like, all right, you watch that, and then you kind of erase the last couple episodes, and you make that movie the end for yourself there.
But if you think about it, okay, Gundam was mature. It had a lot of deaths, and there's things like Legend of the Galactic Heroes and stuff like that that's a little more mature. But Evangelion took the crappy 70s robot genre and made it messed up. It was the first thing to do that.
Especially the opening of End of Evangelion, I was like, what the hell? I was like, what am I watching right now?
So we're going for the full immersive experience. which we have in the art and the game. But my co-author Frank is a talented synth musician. Well, he's a talented musician. Period. He's a jazz musician. He's doing a synth soundtrack for the game.
Oh, nice.
I told him I wanted it to sound like the PlayStation 1, so that's what he's going to do. Each faction is going to have 2 battle themes and 2 like atmospheric themes, plus like a boss theme. And we're going to put that on CD probably as a Kickstarter stretch goal.
Yes, that's one of the things that I was going to ask you. Do you have any stretch goal plans? Is there going to be any add-ons for this to help with the funding?
We're not going to do a whole lot. We got the soundtrack and the works, and the physical copy will be a limited thing that you can really only get like in the Kickstarter, but then it'll be available on Bandcamp. You can download it.
All right.
Won't get the CD though. But another thing we're going to do is we're probably going to do like a custom dice bag that has like the Titan D6 logo, and it'll have like 30 D6 in it because, a lot of players have a lot of D6, but some of them don't, and the game requires a ton if you want to get the most out of it. So I'm like, you can get D6 pretty cheap. Like I can go on AliExpress and get like 1,000 for like $1. So it's like, might as well have like add a custom dice bag and give players that option for like $5 or something, So that's probably. Oh, and Andre Diaz did some artwork of 3 of our kind of key kaiju and kaijin that will fit on like an acrylic standee. So it's kind of difficult to find miniatures for kaiju.
Yeah.
Not impossible. Mechs are easy. There's a ton of mech games. You can find mech stuff like falling out of the sky at any convention. So you can find a stand-in for a Sentinel or a Buster or whatever. Kaiju, not so much. So we're going to see if we can add maybe like either a cardboard kind of cutout standee as a miniature option or like an acrylic. Just to have that, Because the game, for those listening who might not be familiar, the game is meant to be played with miniatures on a grid, so you can keep track of distances and things like that. It is kind of has that wargaming, tabletop gaming aspect to it. You can play Theater of the Mind if you want to. We've done some playtesting over Discord where nobody had a camera. We had to do Theater of the Mind, which is, you just use your imagination and figure out what's happening.
All right.
But it's designed for like the actual physical table as well.
So for like that grid, is there, like I said, I'm kind of noobs here. Do they? Yeah. Is there going to be one included, or is it just kind of like something that you make yourself?
Any RPG player has one of these. It's just a standard like 1-inch square grid. You can even find them at Michael's. Any game shop has got like tons of these things.
Yeah. It almost reminds me, years ago, for a very, very, very short time, we were playing Mage Knights.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like the clicks. They had like a Dungeons variant that it came with like a grid-like map, and there was basically use that to measure instead of rulers or whatever for distance.
Well, most of the ones you can buy on Amazon are either vinyl or kind of like a laminated paper, and you can use a dry erase marker on them, so you can like draw in buildings and roads and like things like that and stuff like that.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, we've done some playtesting. We were at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo last June, and it was pretty fun then. It was not complete by any means, but hopefully we can, once I'm 100% sure I can playtest the combat with all the rules, then I'm going to be looking for some people who might want to test it out, and that'll be during the Kickstarter pre-launch probably. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, cool.
And now I know you said you've worked on like previous games too, so what other like themed games have you done prior to this? I know you said you did like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, we've got 4 Dungeons and Dragons books. We had 2 successful Kickstarters for the first 2. and we have one for an RPG called Castles and Crusades, which is another type of fantasy, role-playing game. But yeah, all our Iris Chronicles stuff, which is our main brand, is for Dungeons and Dragons style fantasy, very high fantasy influenced by Tolkien and Dragonlance and all the classic stuff. All of our stuff is influenced by nostalgic memories and classics, and we want you to have that feeling when you see something. I remember I saw the Dark Crystal in 1986. This is like that, or like I saw The Secret of Nim. Holy shit, this is like that. Like we want to have those evoke those memories with our stuff.
No, yeah. No, I could totally feel it with this. It just really pulls out. So this is just completely, fresh realm here. You have kaiju instead of the whole fantasy, and mixing that cyber noir, futurism. It's got a lot of great nostalgia just looking through it. And with the mention of that synth album, you really got me excited, because that's like I listen to a lot of synth music throughout the year now, like more and more than normal. Usually it's like my winter music. I start work really early in the morning, so especially when it's those winter mornings when it's just dark out, I'm like, oh, this is like perfect music for just driving in a dark morning, just nothing but lights around you. So
we've already got 2 fantasy synth albums out there.
Really?
We have 2 dungeon synth albums, so I'll have to send you the link later on Bandcamp. You can download, and on YouTube you can listen to them. That has that great atmospheric vibe if you like that type of like slow paced like dungeon synth.
No, I'm all over different kinds of synth music, so yeah, definitely I'm excited about that. And we're gonna link up your YouTube channel down below for sure. You sent us that, and any other socials that you might have, your Twitter, of course.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we had a teaser trailer that's been up for a while. That's it's live action, kind of gives a teaser. Originally, we didn't want it to be like. My plan was to put it on a blank web page and just have people click on it and think that it was something for a movie that was coming up.
All right, like
a viral type of thing.
Like a Cloverfield kind of like viral.
Yeah, like no one knows what it's supposed to be. Is it a game? Is it a movie? But they're like, no, we need to tell people that it's a game. People will be very confused if they like later learn that it's an RPG, and they're like, what's an RPG? So that's what we did.
How many trailers have you done so far? I feel like
for Titans, just the first one.
Just the first one? I don't know why I thought there was 2.
No, we usually have like a stinger trailer, which is our first one. We have a trailer that shows the book. That's going to be for the Kickstarter, and then we do a kind of a behind-the-scenes documentary.
All right.
And on our YouTube channel, we have those for all of our fantasy stuff for Dungeons and Dragons too. Tons of trailers and behind the scenes lore and things like that on there.
Really cool.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So, I guess, is there anything else you want to mention? Like, is there like a Kickstarter page that people should be following, or?
Not yet. We're waiting for the trailer to do the pre-launch, and then I'll spam that everywhere.
Yeah. We'll be sharing out the pre-launch for sure on here, and just really looking forward to see what else there is to come with this. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on this campaign for sure. I'm just extremely impressed with it. I just can't. I've been, since you sent it to me, I've been looking at it over and over. Yeah, I don't know.
I've had people who bought our stuff just to look at the art.
That's honestly how I feel about it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna really get a good chance to play it. Or maybe one day I will, hopefully. But just for the art alone, the bestiary. I mean, as a kaiju fan, a mech fan, just the whole fan of everything that you're pulling in here. It's just really cool to look at.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's no easy task, I'll tell you.
No, I mean, it's an impressive book. I mean, we're gonna share out some pictures along with this, sure. But it is. I can't say enough about it. As like I said, we're RPG noobs here, but this is not what I would expect an RPG book to look like.
No, most don't. Yeah, well, like I was saying, most of them don't look like that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be. Hopefully, it'll be a treat for people. Did you have any questions for me, or anything like or anything you were curious about the game, how it plays, or anything? If not, that's fine.
No, I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, how? Like I said, how long have you been like shelling out this? I know it was like an idea in your head, but how long did you have to like create this sort of story that you got all this lore? I mean, it's just an incredible backlog here of information.
Yeah, I mean, I started getting a couple of small pieces of art from Leflair back in like 2022. Because I would just have like an idea pop in my head, and I'd be like, I want the power loader from Aliens, and he would like do that. And then, but at that time, nothing had been written at all. So it's like, this is not how most people do it. Almost nobody starts with the art and then writes the stuff. Like usually it's the complete opposite of that. Like they write it and then they get art to accompany that. I don't do it that way. I start with the art. I've got to get the art right away because I don't want. I have that FOMO going on. I don't want that fear of missing out on like, oh shit, this guy's going to be busy and then I'm not going to be able to hire him. I need to go ahead and get it all. I need it right now. It's like,
yeah.
I get that.
And plus, you can always use the art as like inspiration for your writing.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. I like come up with the stuff based on that. And eventually, it gets to the point where you get art to accompany the writing. But until then, it's like kind of like I'll use like one of my artists to help build a story that I write for. Almost like a comic book type of thing.
That's exactly. This is pretty much what it feels like. It really does feel like. I mean, it does include a comic book at the beginning, the 6 pages.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a comic book with. There's just so much lore and backstory to everything, every character, the kaiju, and you have a page pretty much for every kaiju has its own page. The mechs have their own blurb. All the people involved, characters.
A lot of people aren't going to read it all, and that's okay if you don't.
It's really hard to read because you literally could sit there for days and read it like you're reading a real book. I mean, it is a real book, but like a storybook.
Exactly. That's how all our stuff is, to be honest. And that people say, if it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, just the book alone is immersive, and now when you get to playing the game, it's just taking it to another level.
Our first D&D book, we had no social media. Nobody knew who I was. I was nobody. Somehow I skirted out with 13K on that. I don't know how, but so I'm like kind of riding on those coattails from that point forward. It's like, now people know a little bit about what's going on, so might as well make a kaiju game. Which is funny because my co-author knows nothing about kaiju. Like I showed him the 2014 Godzilla very recently. He hasn't seen Godzilla -1. He doesn't like it. He doesn't really care about it. I forced him to watch Evangelion and he liked it. And then I tried to force him to watch Attack on Titan, and he's like, "This is boring." I'm like, "How can you think this is boring, God?"
Pacific Rim might be a good place to start.
Yeah, that is.
I made him watch it. I can't remember what he said about it. I think he fell asleep on the couch. It's just not. It's not his thing. It's just funny because like he's totally on board with making the theme of the book, and like he's on board with that part of it. But the lore and stuff, he doesn't care as much about. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, dude. It's all me.
Hey, I mean, it's as big as this fandom is getting in this kind of golden age that we're in right now of kaiju and mechs and all that. It's still kind of niche. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you go to a convention, you might get a vendor or two.
Yeah.
That has some kaiju stuff, a couple artists.
Yeah.
I feel like you can
Matt
find more
Frank.
artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been seeing the last couple of years because we've been doing the comic conventions and all that for a long time now, and it's always kind of like mostly famine, not feast or famine. It's just mostly famine when it comes to conventions and kaiju themed things.
Especially for something like Ultraman or Shin Ultraman or Shin Kamen Rider. Nobody knows what that is except the fans. But it's weird to me that Godzilla X Kong is like so enormously popular. It's almost like a Marvel movie in the level of, I don't know anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, a lot of people have seen that one.
And it's funny to me because it's my least favorite MonsterVerse movie. I'm not a Kong fan at all. If I see another Kong, I'm going to staple my ballsack to the ceiling.
I know.
Now you can play him on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I really hope. They say the next movie is going to be very Godzilla-centric, so I'm hoping it is. We need to go back to the Godzilla movies.
I agree. People love Kong, though. It's a crowd pleaser type of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a Spider-Man or
I guess they have more flexibility with what they could do with him versus what they could do with Godzilla.
Yeah, I think you can show a little bit more emotion with Kong than you can with Godzilla.
But just even like as like a property though, since it's like an American property, they have a lot more like literal, like they could do kind of whatever they want with it. Versus Godzilla, Toho's got their restrictions and.
Yeah, that's what I try to solve in the book. I try to solve that problem with the Kaijin. So, my fantasy for the Kaijin is playing as Godzilla, obviously, and then we have like a 2-page spread of the guy transforming into that. But like some of the characters kind of have that Ultraman vibe a little bit. Like they're they're very humanoid, and so they're not as reptilian, I guess. As there's something about that probably just turns a lot of people off. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, like Ultraman gets a little more popular. He's going through a big boom right now, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see for sure where that goes.
For sure. I think that about probably wraps it up.
Yeah. I think we covered a good bunch, especially for some noobs like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with us about this. It's, I can tell it's like a project you worked a lot on, and to share it with us, it's really appreciated.
No,
it's a passion project. It's a passion project for me because I wanted to see it, and I know other people want to see it. I pay for everything out of my own pocket. I don't have any Kickstarter funding right now. It's all been out of my pocket. So, even if it doesn't do well, which seems impossible to me, but like even if it didn't, I'd still be satisfied because I made this thing.
It's really damn impressive, and we don't even have the complete thing, but we got 137 pages plus the 18 pages of the bestiary so far. Yeah, this is gonna be something big. I'm really impressed. I really hope a lot of people see this, and all the RPG fans in the Kaiju fandom, Toku fandom, Mech fandom see this and are drawn in by it, because it's, like I said, like we've been saying all show, it's damn impressive what you've put together here.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, thank you.
Glad to see you doing videos again.
Yeah, it's oh boy, it's just both of us have kids, work, schedules get really tough. Plus, we both did vacations. I went on vacation, he went on vacation, and we went away to the comic convention together. So you got like 3-4 weeks of vacation between the couple of us, the two of us, and there's just, life, We've had Blake on the show before from Territory, and he's even said, life just happens, and sometimes you gotta just slow down a little.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and thank you guys for watching. We'll make sure to link everything down below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.
Have a good one.